And also questions about what the White House knew about an aide and his reported involvement in a 2012 Secret Service scandal. Was there a cover-up ahead of the 2012 election or not? Our panel will debate that coming up.
It's less about prostitution. It has a lot more to do with whether or not the White House put their thumbs on what should be a law enforcement investigation.
Now to get another headache for the White House, allegations of a possible cover-up linked to that Secret Service prostitution scandal in Colombia. The Washington Post reported this week that senior White House officials knew an aide had links to the 2012 scandal. But the big question now is whether the White House covered it up ahead of the 2012 election on purpose because of the political implications. Let's talk about it. Fox News political analyst Angela McGlowan and radio show host Mark Levine join us now to talk about it. Good to see you both.
Good to be here.
All right, so before we get into our little dust-up, which I feel is coming, I want to play a little bit of then White House Press Secretary Jay Carney. This is April, I believe, of 2012 when he was asked about White House involvement.
There are no, to my knowledge, and have been no credible or specific allegations of misconduct by any member of the White House advance team or White House staff.
Okay, so now other sources have come forward saying there is official source material out there that shows that a volunteer who was part of the advance team, a young guy, he denies it, but that he did have a prostitute in his room. The Secret Service says it told senior White House officials about that. But you heard what Jay Carney said. So, Mark?
Well, first of all, Jay Carney said that in April, and the information came to Jay Carney in May. So certainly Jay Carney was telling the truth at the time he said it. I think this is a mountain out of a molehill. Some 25-year-old did something that's legal in Colombia. Allegedly. He denies it, as you say. We don't even know that he did it. He's not working as a salaried employee of the Obama administration. He's some volunteer.
But we paid for it. Tax dollars paid for him to travel there.
That's right. We reimbursed his travel costs.
Well,
compare that to a United States senator who broke the law in the United States, saw prostitutes.
You're talking about Senator Vitter, but that's apples and oranges.
Well, but it's not, because he's a much more important person, and yet Republicans say...
In that case, he did come clean. He was very contrite, and he admitted what he'd done. Is this a cover-up, though? It's not really about the underlying prostitution allegation, even if it's legal there.
I don't compare some 25-year-old volunteer who's not married with a United States senator.
Not about the underlying. Though,
I'll tell you why it's about the underlying, just real quick, because what they said is we didn't want to investigate this. We wanted to investigate the Secret Service because they protect the president, and we hold them to a higher standard than we do some volunteer. So whether he did it or not, I think is irrelevant. So to say it's a cover-up when it should have been investigated.
Wait just a minute. Okay, so the DHS, Department of Homeland Security Inspector General's office, headed up an investigation into this. There's a guy who was the lead investigator, David Neeland, who said we were directed at the time to delay the report of the investigation until after the 2012 election. That's according to folks who have seen these documents. That's the lead investigator saying we were told to bury this.
It was I.G. Edwards that told Neeland not only to bury it, suppress it, but even augment certain things that were to come out. It's not actually the act of, Mark, I can give you that, but what can cause a political firestorm, Shannon, is the actual cover-up. And the fact that this president ran on accountability and transparency. So you had dozens of Secret Service guys and military guys that were either fired or punished for this, but because the 25-year-old's daddy gave $23,000 to Mr. Obama, we protected him. Not only protected him, we moved him to another department, the State Department, and gave him a job.
Angela, I hope you'd agree. The Secret Service, we hold to a higher standard. Hold him to a higher standard than some 25-year-old volunteer.
Well, if you're part of an advance team and you're sleeping with a woman, pillow talk, he could have said something to her that could have put our president in danger.
He's a volunteer.
How do you know that?
He wasn't responsible.
He was a part of the advance team.
What he did is he scheduled out who would be driving to which place at which time.
It was he had information.
Not the president. Oh, it's tiny information.
Okay, but here's the thing. If the White House had said, yes, we had a young guy, he's an intern, he's a volunteer, whatever. He's not part of this. And so, yes, we've chastised him. He's been punished. He's been demoted. Whatever. Why not just do that?
Exactly.
It's not that big a deal, one way or the other.
Then why not do
it? Edwards is gone. The Inspector General you're complaining about is no longer there.
Yes.
I'm not sure what we're still talking about here.
The White House should not be involved in suppressing an investigation. The IG should not be involved in suppressing an investigation. They're part of the administration that answers to the president.
There's no evidence that the White House was involved. The acting Inspector General who did this is now gone.
Who appointed the Inspector General, Mark? Last I checked, it was President Obama.
Him, and he was gone a year ago. This is old news. Of course. But you can't control everything that every person you appoint
almost
does.
out of time, but I want to ask you this. But so many of these things, there's this growing sense, and our polling all shows this across the political spectrum, that people are very wary, feel like this is, and we have people from the New York Times complaining this is the least transparent administration that they've ever covered. That's not Fox News, that's the New York Times.
You know, Shannon, they complain that about every administration. I remember when
they're
George
saying
Bush,
this is the
but they
most.
said it was the most under George Bush, and they said it was the most under Bill Clinton, and they said it was the most under Ronald
But now
Reagan.
they have a comparison. So they're saying to this date,
And
this
the
is
next
the worst.
president, I guarantee you, they're going to say is the least transparent administration ever.
All right, and we won't.
Reporters want information.
We
always.
won't. We do. We don't. We won't speculate about who the next president will be, because that will launch a whole nother debate. Mark and Angela, always great to see you both.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Shannon.
coming in. All right.